That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about A Family Affair, the seventh film directed by Richard LaGravenese, which Netflix is releasing June 28th, 2024.
The director?
Richard LaGravenese.
You said it's their second film?
Seventh.
Oh, seventh. Mm-hmm. Do I know one of their movies?
This film made me want to rewatch his debut, which I had very fond memories of, 1998's Living Out Loud. So you saw me watching some of that. He also did Freedom Writers with Hilary Swank, P.S. I Love You, The Last 5 Years, and a failed bid at a franchise with Beautiful Creatures in 2013, which I believe you might have seen.
What is A Family Affair about? An unexpected romance triggers comic consequences for a young woman, her mother, and her boss, grappling with the complications of love, sex, and identity. What's your pull quote?
Although it's playing with some offbeat elements, a lack of discernible interiority robs this bizarre rom-com oddity of maintaining our interest or attention, a pity considering its potential to be provocative.
Mine. One could say A Family Affair is the spiritual comedic sequel to Anatomy of a Fall. I'm going to say this is a mess of a movie that may qualify as a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
I'm only saying Anatomy of a Fall because Nicole Kidman's character is a widow, and she reveals in the third act that she and her husband were kind of rocky before he died because he was jealous of her success as a writer. But yeah, this movie it's bad.
Well, I think the problem is mostly with the script. It was written by, she was 24 at the time, Carrie Solomon, first-time screenplay. It has very similar elements to a few other things that have come out, including The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway. But it's trying hard, and sometimes you catch a glimpse of it paying homage to 30s and 40s screwball comedies.
It feels like every other shitty Netflix rom-com, like the one with Gabrielle Union, where she's dating like a younger man. Mm-hmm. The one with Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher. Yeah. But like they're all the same. The only thing that sets this apart is the cast. Of course, Nicole Kidman is great. I really like Zac Efron, and of course, who doesn't like Kathy Bates? But yeah, this shit is so basic and odd.
And a reunion for Nicole and Zac after she peed on him in Lee Daniels' The Paperboy in 2012.
The story's pretty simple. Joey King is a young lady,
Zara,
who is the personal assistant to Zac Efron.
Chris Cole.
And he's supposed to be like the biggest star in the world. So after 2 years of working with him, she quits because she's frustrated that he hasn't fulfilled his promise of mentoring her or grooming her to run his business. It's very vague what she thought that would mean. Mm-hmm. But instead, he just has her getting coffee and protein powder. So she quits, and Zac realizes he can't really work without her. So he goes to her house to apologize and offer her job back. And when he gets to her house, she's not there, but her mother's there, played by Nicole Kidman.
Brooke, who's dusting the bookshelves.
I have so many notes, but Zac and Nicole have an instant attraction. It's the middle of the day, and these two go into her bedroom to have sex. Uh-huh. And while they're having sex,
they drink a lot of tequila first.
Joey King walks in, and of course she's very upset and tells her mom you can never see him again, but she does accept his offer of becoming an associate producer on his new film, which we'll talk about. But everything is going well until, like every rom-com, at the beginning of the third act, there has to be some conflict. And the conflict is that whenever Zac is like ready to break up with a girlfriend, he gives her a pair of diamond earrings. Mm-hmm. So it's Christmas time, and Zac decided to spend Christmas with Nicole, her daughter, and the mother-in-law, played by Kathy Bates. And they have a fabulous time. But as they're leaving, Joey King is rummaging through her boss's Louis Vuitton luggage and finds a pair of those earrings. So she's upset. When they all get back home, she confronts Zac in front of her mother and says, "Oh, I know you're going to break up with my mom because you had those earrings. And let me guess, you took my mom to the studio lot to go for a walk." Because that's what he did with all his girlfriends. Of course, Nicole Kidman's embarrassed and tells Zac that he needs to leave, and then kind of kicks her daughter out of the house. So Kathy Bates convinces Joey King to sort of allow her mother to explore with Zach. So she and Zach, this is Joey King and Zach, because even though she's like mad, like embarrassed her boss, broke up his relationship, moved out of her mom's house, she's still the associate producer on his new movie, so they're still seeing each other every day. They have a heart-to-heart, and basically it's like everything's copacetic, but she's still quitting. Nicole doesn't want to see him. But the final scene of the film is Joey basically rents a fancy grocery store in Malibu and hires all these extras. Because early in the film, Zach was saying, oh, I'm so famous I can't even go to the grocery store. I haven't been in 10 years. So she takes him, and he's freaking out because no one is approaching him. And then they're like buying avocados when all of a sudden he sees Nicole Kidman. And she was brought there by Kathy Bates to, like as a trick to get them to reunite. And then they make out in the produce section. The end.
They're producing in the produce.
We do flash forward a couple, it says like several months later, and we see that Joey King is now like Harvey Weinstein. I don't know how she has like a fancy office and she's producing movies.
She's producing.
God, whoever wrote this, it just feels like
Carrie Solomon.
They don't walk amongst normal people.
Well, yeah.
Because Nicole Kidman's character, so of course we see Zach living in a very modern mansion in Malibu. But guess where Nicole Kidman lives? In a nicer mansion in Malibu. So Joey King's mom, who she lives with, lives in a very nice mansion. Her mom is a very successful writer. In fact, she's so successful that when she's bored, she writes for Vogue. And Vogue is so happy to have her that when she does choose to write for them, they send her a bunch of designer clothes. So Nicole's closet is filled with Gucci and Chanel that she doesn't even wear. So it's just like, the stakes feel so low for everything. Why this Joey King's character is struggling so much doesn't make any sense. Why she's worried about her mother being duped by Zac Efron. Her mother is a mature, rich, successful woman. Like, let this lady have some fun. I also don't like that Joey King's character, it would seem like she's a lesbian, and there's this weird side plot with one of her friends who is a lesbian, who's going to rewrite Zach's movie he's working on.
Yeah, played by Sherry Cola.
That I don't understand, like...
Well, what I don't understand about the Sherry Cola element, who you might recognize from Joyride, is that really should have been cut completely from the film, which feels a little bit too long, because that really goes nowhere. And she's trying to Joey King's trying to get her friend to get credit on a rewrite of Zac Efron's latest franchise installment, and this... He plays some character named Icarus Rush, but doesn't know any about the Greek references that are on the fifth or sixth installment. But it's like, what was the point of her trying to do that? It would have been more interesting if they're like, oh, I'm trying to get a queer spin for my friend written on this. That would have made this interesting and elevated at all. Otherwise, it just seems really inconsequential.
Let me go through my notes. The irony of a plot point of this film being that they need to rewrite a shitty script in a film that has a shitty script, I thought was funny. The movie starts out with clips of, it was very much, at first I'm like, oh, is this like Tropic Thunder? Because I didn't know anything about the movie, so I thought it was a straight up comedy. Because it opens with a bunch of clips of, like real life clips of Zac Efron, and then some that were obviously filmed for this movie. And then we see his Icarus Rush character, which very much felt like Ben Stiller's character in Tropic Thunder. Speaking of that, and worst hair and makeup, I have two nominees. I have Zac Efron for his Icarus Rush wig, which is crazy. It's like this platinum blonde thing that's sitting on his head.
Not glued down.
But it's not glued down, and you can see his actual hair popping out the back. So he's on my list. And then Nicole Kidman's on my list for hair and makeup. For makeup, it's at the end at the grocery store.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the lighting or... She just looks garish. It's very Betty Davis and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And then her wig, I hated her wig. I hate that light yellow blonde color on this like alabaster skinned lady. And then the way the hair is styled, it's covering her hairline. So I'm assuming Nicole was like, don't give me a wig that you have to glue down. Because she's notorious for having amazing wigs. We just watched The Invasion. And her wig looked I mean, it was laid perfectly. So I'm assuming for this movie, she said, y'all need to do something where you can just slap it on me. But I think it looks terrible. And she has this awful wig in the same style the entire movie. Whether she's dusting the bookshelf or she goes to a private fine dining dinner in like haute couture, she still has that awful hairdo.
Yeah,
I hated it.
I agree. There is some chemistry between her and Zac Efron, which is kind of odd and fun, but they clearly know each other, so that might be why. But it plays out as very strange because initially when he visits her and they have their little courtship, he's smelling her and he's like, "Oh, you smell really good. What is that?" And he's like, "Is that whatever?" She's wearing sunscreen, and he knows what
the brand.
But it's like, you're inside the house.
Well, I think the one positive about this movie is, besides seeing Kathy Bates, would be that Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron do seem like they enjoyed working together. So it's fun to watch.
Yes. But again, you brought up a good point after watching it, is Joey King comes home one day and her mother's lounging outside looking at the beautiful ocean front. And she's like, "Isn't it a beautiful view?" It's like, well...
Bitch, didn't you grow up in this house? And also, like, your mom's super rich in a mansion. Like, it just felt like these... Joey King and Nicole Kidman are acting like... Joey King acts like she's her mom's assistant. Like, that their relationship is that disconnected.
Yeah, they don't seem very close at all. And I found, again, I feel like we've met people that work as PAs in LA that act just like her, but I found her character, Zara, is so annoying.
I thought she was super annoying. There are moments with her that are amusing, but overwhelmingly, I just didn't like Zara.
I mean, Kathy Bates as the grandma tries to get her together a little bit. Like, don't you see your mom as anything more than your mom? Which is nice, which I think places this at a different level to a degree of something, the idea of you where Anne Hathaway can't be with this younger man because of how it affects her teenage daughter. It's refreshing to see that this mature woman is gonna go for it. But again, after rewatching his debut, Living Out Loud, it's completely lacking those small moments that elevated it, like Holly Hunter and her fantasies dancing to Brownstone at a lesbian bar. That just made us feel like, oh, this is really intriguing and interesting, and a kind of a modern take on the women's pictures of the 1940s. And I feel like this could have been stronger in that direction, but it just doesn't feel that way.
Getting back to Zac and Nicole, I do like them, but I think they look crazy. And when they're when they're in the shot together, it's pretty jarring. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but it's just like, for Nicole, clearly like her face is frozen and puffy and that awful wig. And then we even get a moment where she's sitting next to an old photo of herself from like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And it's just really jarring. And then for Zac Efron, there's been a lot of commentary about his appearance, whatever, except that I do think it's odd that, I mean, even at one point he points out that he has a scar under his neck or under his chin from an injury. But I think also the like his makeup and the lighting just makes him look like a brick.
Yeah, that scar moment did remind me how they incorporate Harrison Ford's in Working Girl. But yeah, again, like I think they have some chemistry, but I feel like this could have gone down a much more interesting path, because once we hit the third act, it's all the cliched beats.
Some funny lines. Zac is arguing with Joey about some fancy, like, one-of-a-kind shirt. And he's saying, like, he's mad because she threw it in a bag with his dirty shoes. And he says, "It's a one-of-a-kind. I only have two." Mm-hmm. I think he has some cute moments.
Singing to Cher's Believe, because the director was talking about how sincere Zac was with his performance, that there are moments that did not feel sincere at all, and that's one of them.
Sure. His mansion, his front door is this super heavy, like it takes all of Joey King's strength to open it very slowly. So when she gets mad and they're fighting and she quits, she storms out the front door and he yells, "Don't you slam that door." I did think that was funny. Joey's license plate says "ick bitch." I thought that was annoying. I don't know what that means. Okay, when Joey walks in on her mom and Zac having sex, I thought that was kind of funny because she's freaking out, and then she hits her head on the door jamb and passes out. Mm-hmm. And that's when her mom and Zac are trying to wake her up. And then she starts getting annoying again. And then they take her to the pediatrician. This girl is 24 years old. She went off to college and then moved back into the house. I don't understand. And then while they're there, the doctor recognizes Zac Efron, of course. So then he's more concerned about talking to him about his movies than checking on this adult in his child's office. But yeah, I thought that was weird writing.
But I feel like you can see where they're trying to have this screwball energy between Joey King and Zac Efron, kind of like Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell and His Girl Friday. But every time they're together, I just felt like I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, it's grating because it doesn't make sense. This young girl, this is why I think it feels like whoever wrote it's out of touch, because this young lady is not on the struggle bus. Her mom is a very rich woman who, even though Nicole acts, because Nicole tells Zac, I've never seen your Icarus Rush movies. And he's like, how is that even possible? But she's more of a literary type person. But either way, it's like she's connected in some way. If her daughter wanted to get into the industry, right. They also live in an area where, like, I'm sure all of her neighbors are like Hollywood executives or famous actors. It just is so unbelievable that she thinks the only way for her to break into the film industry is to be the PA to some meathead. I just found that really uninteresting.
Use your connections, girl. And then she has this other friend who she's totally disregarding that's supposed to showcase how Zara is so self-involved. I also don't think that also feels kind of like a waste of time.
That didn't work for me because watching it happen, I didn't think that Zara seemed like so self-consumed. It's like when you have friends and one of your friends is going through something, you put energy into that thing that's happening. It's not like we have to balance out the issues of the day. But then when the friend goes off on her, it did feel like kind of out of left field, and who cares?
Yeah.
Because at that point, Zara had been living with her friend because her mom had kicked her out. Which, even that scene was annoying because Zara suspects, she has asked her mom, Joey King has asked Nicole Kidman, stop seeing Zac. But then she thinks that her mom is seeing him. And she thinks that they might have gone to this like fundraising gala. So Joey and her friends show up, and them trying to get into the party was really obnoxious.
Oh, I hated that scene.
They get in, Joey sees Nicole kissing Zac, and she blows up. And Nicole's trying to explain to her, like, your dad's been dead for 11 years. This is the first time I've actually felt something with another man. And the way Joey King reacts is like she's a 12-year-old. Which is why, I don't know, I wish we would have got a sense of, like, Joey King's character's, like, romantic history or something. Like, why?
Something, yes. What is her goal for herself?
Because she just seems so immature in that way.
I agree. And again, I feel like there's so many other odd things that they could have added to this.
Then when Nicole realizes that she does want to continue to see Zac, she says, here that we have to establish some rules. You don't get to break my heart. Okay. Never lie to me. Sure, gal. And don't ever pretend this is more than it actually is. I thought that writing was terrible.
It is. Well,
for a woman like who's that mature, that successful, who doesn't need this man.
Learning that a 24-year-old wrote this, it makes sense. And I don't know, I kept waiting for, because Nicole Kidman moment where somehow even Hokum feels good in a place like this.
Oh, God. Joey King's character saying that she's upset that Zac hasn't groomed her to run his company. What is this company?
They have a really toxic relationship. When Joey King starts telling Nicole Kidman, like, he makes me do all this weird stuff, it's like, yeah, they have some stuff that those two need to work on.
Well, and then her mom is like, well, but, you know, like, just keep at it. That felt weird. Like, can't your mom help you? Or you don't have to be doing this. Okay, so during the film, Zac is working on his new Icarus Rush film, and he's really worried about it because he's filming part 3. No, he's filming part 4, but part 3 is about to come out. And he's like, well, if part 3 is not a hit, they won't greenlight part 5 and part 6. But then it also seems like he wants to do better stuff. But then he kind of seems smart, but kind of like an idiot. And then he has problems with the script, so they're trying to find another writer. But then if he has a production company, wouldn't he have more control? I don't understand why the director of Icarus 4 is this French lady who they're acting like can't speak English even though she can.
Yes.
And then we get a moment where, which is supposed to be comedic, where Joey King says, I'm going to translate for the director because I speak French. And the director says, sure. So then when it's time to give Zach some notes, it's basically Joey King unloading onto him. But that was so weird because the director doesn't even like interject to say like, what the hell is going on?
She speaks enough English to know that Joey King is not translating properly. And also on this kind of a Hollywood production, there would be somebody that's employed to translate to the star from a foreign director.
Joey King's friend, who I kind of thought was annoying too, she does have one funny line because she, during the course of the film, breaks up with her boyfriend. And she was all stressed out about meeting her in-laws. And someone asks her, well, how did it go? And she says, not well. I cut his mom with my big toe under the table.
And it's such a throwaway line, too.
It's so stupid, but it's like, I was grasping for things to make me laugh. Because the tone, I mean, rom-coms are cheesy, right? You go from like melodramatic moments to, you know, gut-wrenching, not gut-wrenching, but pulling at your heartstrings to full-on comedy. This one does not handle it well at all.
No, and if the screwball comedy is a template, it fails miserably because those classic films have a lot of laughs.
Nicole's wardrobe is real odd because they try to dress her. She makes a comment like we're told she doesn't care about clothes. So they try to make her look frumpy, but it just makes her look sinewy and like skeletal because she's really thin and tall. And then when she does get dressed up twice, once to go meet Zach for a private dinner, and then once at this fundraising gala, she's wearing kitten heels, like Hillary Clinton shoes, which I thought was so weird because Nicole Kidman's taller than Zac Efron. We see them barefoot walking on the beach, and she is taller than him. But then I thought it was weird that in the moments where she's supposed to have on formal wear, she's wearing these ugly, like 2-inch heels. I hated that. The Christmas scene I thought was cute because we see Zach open up and he seems to really enjoy. It's very predictable. But
Yes.
I thought what was funny is the gift. So he gives Joey King for Christmas like a director's chair that says whatever her character's name is. Associate producer.
Zara.
And then to Nicole Kidman, I had to write it down because Nicole's character's name is Brooke Hargrove. He gives her this leather-bound, like custom-made edition of the Brooke Hargrove anthology. Mm-hmm. So it's a collection of all of her essays and magazine articles in this like 1,500-page book that he had made like in the course of a day. And he uses that as an excuse to Joey King or an explanation as to why he had the earrings. Because he's like, well, I wasn't sure if I could get her something. And to be honest, I was going to break up with her because I run away from everything that's good to me or good for me. But then I decided at the last minute, obviously, that's why I made her this book. That felt so crazy.
It did. But you have to have some kind of mistaken phenomenon that everybody can conveniently get over, and they do.
So Joey King's been living at her friend's house because her mom kicked her out, but then her friend gets mad at her because, like you said, the friend confronts her as being a shitty friend. So who does Joey King go to live with? Zac Efron's housekeeper. And the housekeeper lives in like $1 million.
Yes.
I know he's not treating her that well.
Well, you know this film is not going to show her living in squalor.
Again, the script feels so out of touch.
Certain beats of it feel like a Nancy Meyers film, which is not a compliment.
The sort of final moment where Joey King and Zac Efron have a heart-to-heart, it opens with him basically saying, like, I don't know why I'm playing the good guy in Icarus Rush, because I'm really a villain. What? Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, the third act really kind of unwinds quickly.
It really does. And then the fact that Joey King's character didn't realize that because of Zach's celebrity, like her being mad that he took her mom to the studio lot on a date, it's like, well, where else can he go? He can only go places where he can shut them down and have like private time. I just thought it doesn't make sense that her character is so immature. It's almost like this script was intended to be like Joey King's character was supposed to be a teenager.
Right. And they take pains to note the differences in age. They name how old Zac Efron is and how much older Nicole Kidman is as their characters, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a weird highlight because it's less than their actual age difference. Right. And also the fact that they both look crazy is like, who cares? They could be the same age for all I know. What would you give A Family Affair?
2. in a very boring title, by the way.
Yeah, this movie's bad. I would give it 2 out of 5. I would recommend checking it out,
Sure.
especially if you like Kathy Bates, Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron, Joey King. But that's all we have. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.